Good evening and welcome to this special episode of Left, Right and Centre. I'm Nidhi Razdan. I'm happy to introduce our special guest on the program tonight, the US Ambassador to India, Ambassador Richard Verma, who's here with us just as he's completed a year in office here in New Delhi. It's been, I would say, quite an interesting and an eventful year as far as India-US ties are concerned. And we have an audience of young people both here in Delhi and in other parts of the country who are keen to ask him questions on everything, may I say, from terrorism to pollution to so much more. We also have our special guests in the audience joining us tonight, both strategic affairs experts, Manoj Joshi and Praveen Swami. So I think you'll get some of the tougher questions from them, Ambassador Verma. Thank you very much for coming in today. My first question to you is that now that it's been a year for you here in Delhi, have you settled down and adjusted to Delhi's pollution?
Let me just first say it's been a fabulous year. And as I look at the arc of US-India relations over the many decades, you know, we've had ups and downs, but 2015 was clearly a high point in so many areas. And, you know, having led off the year with the presidential visit at Republic Day, and then the President and Prime Minister had a lot of different interactions over the year, and we were able to make progress in so many
some 5 or 6 meetings, didn't they?
5 or 6 meetings. We had the hotlines that they were established between the President and Prime Minister that were used quite frequently, especially in the lead up to the Paris Agreement. So we really deepened, broadened our ties in so many areas, in the economic area, in the defense space, in energy and climate change. And we came together like we had never come together before. You know, the President calls us natural allies and best partners, and the Prime Minister has echoed that. And so for us to be here in 2015 and live through that and work through that with our great team at the embassy was really a privilege for me. Now, you asked about a second issue, which is the pollution.
An important one, yeah.
Yeah, and a very important issue that all of us who live in Delhi have to confront, which is the air pollution, which is a serious concern for all those people that have to endure it. Now, we've lived through this in the United States. We've had our own set of problems with air and water, and we've tried to bring some of our solutions to bear. We think that some of the things that have been tested, the Oddeven formula, you know, I think the citizens want to do something. The consciousness over this issue is very strong. We're going to do our part, whether it's through technology, whether it's through assistance. The climate change agreement will be an important part of combating pollution and carbon-based pollution. But look, this is the challenge of a true mega city. New Delhi in a few years will be, if it's not already, it'd be the second most populous city in the world. And what we're seeing is the strains of infrastructure, inadequate infrastructure, the cars, the burning, the pollution. And so we've got to work together to come up with solutions, because this is a health problem, it's a security problem. And I think when I talk to young people, when I talk to people of Delhi, they want to be part of the solution, and we do too.
And you raised the subject of the Oddeven formula, and it was interesting that the US Embassy was among the very few embassies, I might add, in Delhi that actually decided to comply with the Oddeven formula, even though your diplomats were technically exempt. That was great. I mean,
look, I think this is about changing how you do business. It's about shared sacrifice. I think it's one thing to just point and complain at the policymakers. It's quite another to try to come up with solutions. And we wanted to be part of the solution. And it wasn't easy for a lot of our locally employed staff, just like it wasn't easy for a lot of people across Delhi. But I think it's such a pressing issue, and it really could stifle India's growth, not only in Delhi but in other parts. That's why I think it's raised, this environmental consciousness has become in the public awareness in a way that I don't think it has been before. I have told people that our cooperation on climate and clean energy is perhaps our biggest pathway of cooperation for the future, because it is about helping to deliver advanced technologies into the green economy to try to reduce the reliance on old sources of energy, which actually do create this pollution.
I'm going to stick with this because there have been reports even last year and a report that appeared in one of the papers today about embassies actually scaling back the tenure of their diplomats here because of these concerns about Delhi's pollution, among them one of the European countries. Is there any such concerns that the US embassy has? I'm sure this has told on the health of your staff, perhaps their children?
Right.
Has someone said we want to go back?
Look, like I've said, we're residents here in Delhi, and just like everyone else, we confront the same air pollution challenges that others do, and it's a serious concern within our community. What we've tried to do is provide information for people so they can try to manage the pollution levels when they're at their highest. So we have air quality monitors, and we publish the data. I think this started before I arrived, and there was some criticism that we would put this data out publicly. Now, frankly, we receive a lot of compliments for getting the information out so people can adjust. Do they need to wear a mask? Should they do physical activity?
So no scaling
at
back
a
on
different
diplomatic
time?
tenures?
No,
then?
right now we're sticking with our current tenure. This is a very sought-after assignment. This is an important place to be assigned as a Foreign Service officer. I'm very proud of the mission. It's now one of the largest in the world, and really one of the most consequential in the world, given where the U.S. and India are headed. Having said that, we need to take care of not only our community, but we need to take care of the people that are all impacted by this. And so that's why we want to be good neighbors, do what we can to support, whether it's
even though the data is actually very mixed about whether Oddeven had an impact on bringing down air pollution levels, do you still believe that it's a good idea that should be done again? I mean, what do you think? You went through it.
Look, I think we have to let the scientists and the experts look at the data and determine whether this is effective. I know this is what Beijing has done over many years, and I don't want to get in the space of what the actual experts would judge on this. I just want people to know we are going to share in whatever sacrifice that others have to endure as well. That's part and parcel of being a good neighbor here in New Delhi.
Well, the ambassador is also, of course, here at a very critical time as far as not just ties with India are concerned, but as far as India-Pakistan ties are concerned, Ambassador. And I'm going to let Manoj Joshi actually open up this segment with a question for you on what's been happening post-Pathankot. Manoj.
Well, Ambassador, we've seen many statements from the United States, fairly tough, telling Pakistan to get its act together. Yet we also see another imperative, and that is the need of the United States and the international community, I dare say, to resolve the Afghanistan problem, where Pakistan becomes a key player. Do you think we can finesse this in such a manner? And you know, I'd be the first one to say that normalizing Pakistan can't be done either by the United States or India, but it's an international community's effort. China should play a very important role there. But do you think we can square that circle, meaning the Afghanistan imperative as well as the need to deal with terrorists who are attacking India?
We have to deal with both. I think there's no way not to deal with both. Now the question is, how do you get there? And that is a very difficult question. Let me just say on the question of terror safe havens, on bringing perpetrators to justice, I think even just 3 days ago, President Obama issued a very clear, forceful, and compelling statement on this issue, as he had several times over the year. Even when he was here last January, and over the course of the year, the President and Prime Minister issued a very clear counterterrorism declaration in September when they met in New York in the General Assembly. And the issue is how to bring peace and stability to a very volatile region, and threats that threaten the Pakistani people, the Indian people, and free people beyond this region. And so we have to keep the pressure up, keep the leverage up, work with moderate forces, work with Prime Minister Sharif, and that's exactly what the President has done, and that's what Secretary Kerry has done, and we'll continue to do. Now, on the question of Afghanistan, this need to bring reconciliation and peace to a country that has been enduring conflict and bloodshed for too many years. And what is required is a political solution. And the question is, how do you get there? And it requires those parties that can bring leverage on the various groups. And to the extent that there are those within the Taliban that are reconcilable, that will agree to abide by the Afghan constitution, put down their weapons, renounce violence, support basic rights for all people, those people, we need to see if we can engage them the Afghan and an Afghan-led process, and that both of those have to occur simultaneously. I don't think you can do one and not the other. This is very, very difficult work. As you know, the U.S. has been engaged in Afghanistan since the tragic attacks of 2001. The President has maintained our force levels there because the security situation was still not as stable as we had hoped. But there are a lot of good developments in Afghanistan as well, and the institutions are taking hold, and the political process is bringing more people into the process. So for all those people that care about the future of Afghanistan, we have to see this through.